You know, last week, and welcome, we talked about stress, or I talked about stress, and because my tech guy's not here, I hope you have good sound at home. I know the sound will be good in this room, but this is the kind of stress that is good for us. Even though I can feel my adrenaline and my cortisol flowing through my system, we need that stuff in our system. I talked about it last week, so I'm not going to go over it again, but maybe in another week I will. Today, though, what we're focusing on is breathing. And you know what's great is that we're always breathing, so that if we, thank you, just pausing the music. We're always breathing, but we also know as yogis that breath is truly a way to self-manage and self-care. To that end, even though we might think of the lungs as a muscle, it's not. In fact, without muscles, the lungs don't take much in and they don't even let anything out. So the muscle that we're focusing on is the diaphragm. And because the diaphragm is between the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity, our breath can affect not just our physical digestion, elimination, assimilation, and respiration. Because the heart is here, it also can affect us emotionally. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but what I am telling you is to help us bring awareness to the power that we have with our breathing. And to that end, we're going to get started with doing a little bit of stretching. Now, does everybody have blocks? And if they don't, I will just, and at the end of the class, at one point before the end of the class, what I'm going to, you just need to over there for that. Yeah, is, where did she go? We're going to do, in yoga we stretch and we strengthen and we lengthen and we relax and we purge. Basically, that's what we do. So today we're focusing on the diaphragm, which is this large muscle, and it is the most important muscle for respiration. Okay, so let's get started on our backs and bend your knees, place the soles of your feet flat on the floor. And we are going to begin with Setu Bandhasana. So Setu Bandhasana, we know this one, our heels are lined up with our hip bones. Our feet are flat on the floor. Lift your shoulder blades up and tuck them under. And then reach your arms forward and place your palms flat on the floor. And then press the small of your back into the floor. Feel your core engaging here. This starts to activate the diaphragm. And inhale, lifting bum, hips up. Now we use this posture for many therapeutic reasons. Today, of course, we're focusing on how it can impact our diaphragm. And every time I spelled the word diaphragm, I thought, thank God I learned English as a first language, because it's kind of a funny word. If you tried to spell it phonetically, it wouldn't look anything what it looks like the way we spell it. So breathe here. Of course, we're activating thighs, we're purging kidneys, adrenals. There's so much going on. The walk at the throat is wonderful. But draw your attention towards your diaphragm. And press your knees forward. Try to lengthen your diaphragm so you're going to get a little more lock in the throat area. And then on an exhale, slowly release. Starting from the top of your spine, your torso, onto your mat. slowly using your muscles and not gravity. And release everything. So kind of, when we come back down and we exhale, we get that feeling of just sitting in an easy chair. So relax, exhalation, think of it as relaxation. And one more time, press the small of your back into the floor, pull your abdominal muscles towards your spine, feel them active, feel them engaging, and then slowly peel your spine off the floor, keeping your abs engaged, because while we're in the neighborhood, we are going to be working our abs along with our diaphragm today. Let's face it, our abs are involved in breathing, neck muscles, chest muscles involved in breathing. So again, holding, and see if you can try to lengthen the front of your body as you hold here in Setu Bandhasana. So you're really feeling a good stretch. You're feeling your abs sucked in. This has a purging effect on the intestinal area. Breathing, one more time, lifting, and on an exhale, once again, slowly releasing your torso onto the floor. Very slowly. Keep your abs engaged, please. And release. And just while we're hanging out here for a moment, the neck and the chest muscles are involved in breathing, but that's what we would call clavicular breathing. So your clavicles are your bones right across the top of your chest. And we see this, people with emphysema, older people, frail people, they're basically just chest breathing. They're not getting very much oxygen into their lungs. So let's do this one more time, and if you feel that your heels could be a little closer towards your sits bones, move them, press the soles of your feet into the floor, and then slowly rock on your sacrum to press the small of your back into the floor, pull your abdominal muscles right into your lower spine, and slowly peel your spine off the floor, keeping your abdominal muscles engaged. You should be feeling them, focusing on the core. So even though we might be able to hold a push-up, to be honest, one of the things that we don't talk about in core strength is the diaphragm, and because of poor posture, whether we're hunched over a computer, a desk, doing things in the kitchen, the bathroom, driving, whatever it is, all of these things can compromise the diaphragm's activity in terms of opening, stretching, and pulling the lungs. So again, lifting up, and think about pushing your knees just slightly forward on your mat to stretch. And this will be the last time. And then slowly, once again, keep your abs engaged. As you exhale, bring everything back down onto the mat. And then draw your knees up in towards your chest, one hand on each knee, and just do a little bit of rocking here, side to side. Maybe make circles on your back. Okay, and then bring your hands underneath the backs of your knees, or if it feels better, roll over onto your side and press yourself up into a seated position. Now I want you to take a block, and I want you to have a look here before we get started. So this is what we're calling tabletop for your legs. You're going to press your block, or if you're at home and you have something else, like a small pillow, and you're going to place your forearms on your block. Now, you're pressing the block into your leg, and your legs are together. And then we're going to release one leg, and we're going to bring it back. And you're going to do it so slow that you feel your muscles and your abs working. Alrighty? So you're pressing the block into your upper thigh, and then you're bringing your forearms onto the block, and you're interlocking your fingers, or perhaps your hands are in prayer. Whatever feels good here, your hands could be facing forward. You just find a position that feels good. Now, press the small of your back into the floor. Alrighty? Inhale in place. Exhale, extend the left leg out in front. Pause. Inhale, and draw it back. Exhale, other leg out in front. Pause. Inhale, draw it back. Other leg, exhale. Inhale, bring it back. So the block never moves, your arms stay connected, just your leg is moving, extending the leg out in front and back. We're going to do this one more time if you can on each side, extending the leg out in front. Pause, bring it back. Exhale, other leg in front. Pause, bring it back, and remove the block. Keep your legs bent in tabletop. Take your arms out to shoulder height. Press the small of your back into the floor, inhaling in place. Exhale, take both knees over to the left. Turn your head to the right. Keep your right shoulder on the mat. Releasing lower back, and of course increasing mobility through the lower part of your spine and torso. And inhale, use your muscles to come back to center. Feel them. The slower you go, the more of your core you work. Back in the center, then exhale. Keep your knees together, feet together, thighs together, releasing both knees over to the right, and your head goes to the left. And again, you're keeping your left shoulder on the mat. Inhaling, back to center. Exhale, both knees to the left, head to the right. Perhaps getting a little bit more mobility in the lower back this time with a beautiful stretch through the side of your right side of body. Breathing in, inhale, come back to center. And one more time, both knees together and releasing them over to the right side, head to the left. And this is a perfect time to mention the intercostal muscles between the ribs. They are responsible for about a fifth of the amount of oxygen you can take into your lungs. So clearly, a stretched and open rib cage promotes better breathing, inhaling and exhaling. And then bring your knees back to center, one hand on each knee, and let's take happy baby pose. So you're going to take your insteps, and then you're going to bring your ankles directly over your knees so that the soles of your feet are facing the ceiling. Your knees are wider, just outside of your torso. Your chin tilted towards the notch in your neck to lengthen your neck, and you're pulling down. So this is a great release for the lower back. Nice, everybody. And that's right, if you can't reach your ankles, just take whatever you can, keeping your ankles directly over your knees. A nice, safe stretch for your hamstrings and great relief for your body, your back. Alrighty. And let's release that posture. Again, if you can, place your hands underneath the backs of your thighs, or if it feels better, you're going to roll over onto your side and use your top arm to press yourself up. I know I've got somebody in class who hurt their SI joint. I jammed mine big time last winter, so I could not do the roll up. Okay, Navasana, boat pose. Not our favorite, but boy, does it work everything beautifully. Okay, so in Navasana, let's just start by holding the backs of our thighs and rolling back and finding that sweet spot where you can just balance. Now, first things first, lift your chest, lift your gaze, looking up, and engage your abs, your core muscles. And breathe, of course. And then straighten your legs while you're holding on. So there's your posture, but you're assisting it by holding your legs. Now, bend your legs once again, bring them into tabletop, and let's release our arms. Focus your gaze for balance. Feel your core engaged, of course. And then let's roll back once again. And placing one hand on each knee, either making little circles, rolling from side to side. I'm going to try this again. And then we'll come back to doing some stretching. And of course, our sun salutations. Placing your hands underneath the backs of your knees or rolling over onto your side and using your top arm to press yourself back up, whichever way works. All right. So, lifting your chest, shoulders down, keep your elbows tucked in, and roll back and find that sweet spot on your sits bones. Engage your core, lift your gaze, so that your body really is like a V. And then straighten your legs. And you can stop at any place along the journey in Navasana where you feel that you've reached your edge. Bring your legs back to tabletop, release your hands, and here's where you could try to lift the legs and release. Okay, that will do. That is a difficult pose, but like everything in life, challenging ourselves within reason is how we improve, is how we strengthen, and how we develop titiksha, the ability to endure hardships. Once again, we're going to come up to a seated position, so rolling over onto your side, and then using your top hand or rolling up, whichever one works. Alrighty, come on over onto all fours. Place your hands just slightly in front of you with the middle finger pointing forward. Curl your toes under and spread your fingers wide apart. So the wider you can spread your fingers apart, the more you can distribute the weight of your body. In fact, we use the weight of our body. We don't need to go to a gym. We just use our body weight to improve and increase our strength. All right, we're going to lift up into a soft dog. And can you walk your dog, stretching and pressing one heel towards the floor, bending the other leg, feel the stretch, and then change. Nice release too for the lower back. And change. Practicing mindfully, feeling what you are stretching, and one more time changing. And if you press your sits bones towards the back wall, As you do this, you get more release and length in the spinal area. And then release your knees onto the floor. And we'll come back to a little stretch here for our diaphragms. Okay, so keep your toes curled under, Ustrasana. If anybody feels that they need extra cushioning under their knees, there are pads, but the other thing you can do is pull your mat and make it, fold it, right? Thumbs up. Now I have a yoga bee mat. If anybody's looking to buy you a present and you want a new mat, the bee mats. Okay, so curling the toes under. You're going to place your hands on your hips with your thumbs pointing towards your spine. Now, we have an option here. You can just lean backwards and hang out here. Or you can release your left hand onto your heel. See how that feels? And then release your right hand onto your heel. Externally rotating your arms to open up your collarbones or your clavicles, as they're called anatomically, stretching the diaphragm, stretching the chest, the neck, and then bring your hands back onto your hips, flatten the tops of your feet, and come on down. Take your knees as wide as the mat, big toes touch, flatten the tops of your feet. Slowly take your hips back towards your heels. Take your time. If you're prone to cramping in the feet, the ankle, and again, if we don't mobilize and move the ankle joints in a myriad of ways, well, then they get stiff and they're like a car, the joints start to seize up, we don't have the mobility, and we plod along. So take your time, come up if you need to, and then release your torso when you're ready, between your thighs. If it's comfortable, place your forehead on the mat. If you need added height, fold your forearms and rest your forehead on your forearms. If bending your knees like this is too much, come into puppy pose, keep your bum high, and release your forehead. Breathing into your side and back ribs. Nice deep, long inhalations and deep exhalations. Inhaling, bring the knees together, curl the toes under, walk your hands back, and slowly roll onto the soles of your feet, letting your upper body hang, let your head hang, relax your neck, pressing the soles of your feet into the floor, slowly roll up, one vertebra at a time. Keeping your chin tucked in and letting your head be the last thing to come up. Okay. Take your arms behind your back. Take your feet slightly apart, maybe the width of your mat almost. And then squeeze your shoulder blades together. Soften your knees. Lift your hearts. Let your head fall back. And then exhale. And forward fold, keeping your arms behind your back with your fingers interlocked, releasing your torso between your thighs. Keep your knees soft, let your head hang. And then release your arms, walk your feet back together, and slowly roll up, letting your arms hang, keeping your chin tucked into your chest, and letting your head be the last thing to come up. And exhale. Okay, we haven't reviewed mountain pose for a while, and this is important for this area. So when we're hanging out, waiting for somebody, lining up for something, consider mountain pose. So your feet are parallel to one another, about 1 fist width apart. Parallel meaning the outsides of your feet are parallel with the outsides of your mat. Lift your toes off the floor. Feel your big toe mount, your baby toe mount, and the center front of your heel. Now, a lot of us collapse in the arches. Here's your chance to actually feel your arches and lift up. This supports your knees and healthy hips. When we're collapsed, clearly, knees, hips, all compromised. Everything's connected. All right, so feeling that triangle of your feet fully rooted and grounded, and then lay your toes flat on the floor. This should have begun the engagement of your quadriceps, your thigh muscles. So lifting up on your kneecaps, feel your quads activated. Then also, so release your quads for a moment. Feel the difference when you engage your quads, how your pelvic bowl starts to level out so that your front anterior spine and your posterior iliac spine are aligned. So neither spilling forward or spilling out. Then lift your sternum. This is probably one of the greatest little cues whenever you think, how's my posture? Lift up at your sternum. There you go. And then press your shoulders back and pull your armpits down. So already we've lost 5 or 10 pounds and probably 2 inches taller just by standing up straight. Let your chin float horizontal, parallel to the floor, and let the crown of your head float up. Eyes can be opened or closed, fixed on a horizon. So if we find standing with our feet parallel, now we're all anatomically different, but just a thought here, if you find this more comfortable or you find this difficult, there could be tightness in the hip area, just to note. But anatomically, you may have been created as a ballerina and your feet just naturally turn out. Okay, let's perform our half sun salutations. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, now turn the palms out, bend your knees and swan dive your torso onto your thighs, fingertips tented on the floor. On an inhale, lift your hips up. Now this is an opportunity once again where we could use our blocks if our legs are too long or if our hamstrings are too tight. You can get extra height by placing your blocks underneath your fingertips. And then exhale, drop your hips. So now your torso is resting on your thighs. Press your shoulders back, lengthen your spine. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up and overhead. Turn the palms out, taking up lots of space. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale. Turn the palms out, exhale. Feel the power in your thighs. Bend your knees a lot, bend in your hips, fingertips tented. Inhale, let your head hang. Please don't do any holding here. Feel the stretch in the backs of your legs. Give your head a swing if you're not sure. Breathing in. Exhale, breathing out as you bend your knees, coming into a tuck position, lengthen your spine, shoulders back. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up, palms together. Exhale, turn the palms out and float your arms down. So once again, if you lift your toes off the floor, check in with what you're pressing into the mat. Are you keeping your arches lifted? Release the toes back down. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, turn the palms out, float your torso onto your bent thighs, fingertips tented. Inhale, crown of your head points down, tailbone points up. Exhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, shoulders back, lengthen spine. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, reaching up. Exhale, float the arms down. One more time. Inhale, turn the palms out. Exhale, float the arms down. Coming into your tuck. Inhale, lift your hips. Now just let your upper body hang out. Can you grab your elbows? And let your head just hang. This is a beautiful release for the spine. Lowering the head below the heart. It's extra blood supply. Now, bend your right foot, right leg. Place your right hand on your left instep and sweep your left arm up. Exhale, float that arm down. Excuse me. Bend the other leg. So now your left leg is bent. Your right hand is on your left hand, pardon me. Your left leg is bent. Your left hand is on your right instep, and you're sweeping your right arm up. Reaching up, stretching up. Exhale, float it down. Bend your knees, tuck your chin, and slowly roll up, one vertebra at a time. All right, feeling a little heat in your hamstrings. Okay, we're going to try plank position and just have a look here. You're doing it on your forearms, all right? So not on your wrists, on your forearms. Now, if you have shoulder issues, this may not be for you, so you could focus on doing another activity that you feel might strengthen your core area. We're going to continue, but I can't think of a modification for being on your arms unless this is easier for you holding plank position. But on your forearms, you can interlock your fingers. What we're going to do is dip the left hip. So you're twisting the body, dipping it to the side, coming back to the center, and taking the other hip to the other side. Engaging the core. Once again, tipping left hip to floor and right hip to floor. One more time if you can on each side, left hip to floor and right hip to floor. Great. And come on all the way down. Okay, we get a break here a little bit, but this is a great crocodile pose. So, think about your upper arm being about 45 degrees to your shoulder. You are going to fold your forearms and you're going to rest your forehead on your forearms. So upper arm 45 degrees away in front to your shoulder. Flatten the tops of your feet and just place your forehead on your forearms. This is called crocodile pose, Makrasana. Now this is also a nice gentle stretch for your diaphragm. In fact, it's called diaphragmatic breathing. So there's not much to do here except rest your forehead on your forearms and breathe. So consider the muscle, the diaphragm, as you inhale, it presses up into the lungs and it presses on the abdominal organs, which in this posture you can't press your abdomen out too far. And as you exhale, it releases, abdominal organs come in, and the lungs empty. So because there's a vacuum, the body naturally breathes. And just continue this, nice, slow, whatever feels normal to you breathing. And releasing. Now bring your elbows directly under your shoulders and your forearms straight out in front. So have a look that your shoulder, elbow, and wrist are all in alignment. Middle fingers pointing forward. So here we are in Sphinx pose. Clearly a nice stretch here for the diaphragm, the upper chest. And then leaving your hands where they are. If it feels okay, begin to press the hands into the floor and straighten the arms, coming up into a modified cobra pose. Keeping the heart center lifted, gently round the back of your neck. Eyes can be floating up towards Ajna chakra. As you're holding this position, you may be able to gently press into your hands and get a little more extension into your spinal region. Remember, these back bends are key to align and maintain the integrity of the spine. But of course, you're practicing with awareness, respect, and compassion. And the first yama, ahimsa, which I'm going to address later in this class, because I want to start teaching about the deeper dimensions of yoga. Practicing the asanas are excellent. Bring your elbows back down onto the mat. Press the shoulders away from your ears and then gently let your head hang between your shoulders. So as I said in last night's note, a healthy body is great, but a healthy mind is even better. It's much easier to release tension and stress from the body than it is from the mind. And the mind creates a lot of the tension that we feel in our bodies by what we think, what we say, and how we act. So many centuries ago, the father of yoga, Patanjali, and just give your head a little swing, forwards, backwards, whatever feels okay here. And then lift your heads up and bring your arms beside your body, palms facing up, and turn your head to the right. Big toes touch, heels splay out, and shoulders melt. So Patanjali, who's considered the father of yoga, created a roadmap, kind of a roadmap for our culture to find contentment. And he also developed something called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashta means 8 and Anga means limbs. So I know that there's a type of yoga that the West adopted as Ashtanga Yoga, but it really means 8 limbs. And if they practice all 8 limbs, beautiful. So the first 2 limbs are the yamas and niyamas. And ahimsa, non-violence, non-harming, is the first. And we need to take this to heart. Not just how we speak to people or treat people, but how we treat ourselves. So in yoga, if we find that we're pushing ourselves to do things that perhaps could injure or harm ourselves, that's a form of ahimsa, violence towards our own bodies. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and let's press up and come on into a seated position for seated forward bending, Hashimotonasana. So legs are straight out in front. Pull the flesh out from underneath your sits bones. And let's see if we can just sit up nice and tall with our feet flexed and our hands beside our body with fingers pointing forward and the heel of our hands pointing backwards. So here's a chance where we're clearly engaging our core. However, our core is going to have to work harder if our hips or our hamstrings are tight. So we're going to do something about that. We're going to breathe in, inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Keep your feet really flexed here. Now lift up out of your waist and slowly fold forward. It doesn't matter how far you go. It's more about keeping your spine long and straight. And your ears are beside your arms, your inner arms. So keep flexing. You're going to feel a little bit of burn in your hamstrings. That's normal. Now inhale, reach and stretch a little bit more. Exhale and fold whatever amount you can. Stop before you injure, hurt, or harm yourself. Keep reaching and stretching, however. Reach and stretch. And again, if there's any more room to close the gap between the torso and the legs, reach. Now, wherever you can reach with your hands on your legs, take hold. Could be your feet, could be your calves, ankles, wherever that is. I want you to inhale, lift your heart, lengthen your spine, and you're holding on to something, some part of your feet, ankles, or legs, reaching and stretching, and then exhale, and using your feet or legs for leverage to lengthen. And in this case now, we are compressing the diaphragm, the abdominal region, releasing all manner of impurities, toxins, tension, stress. So I said in yoga, we strengthen, we lengthen, we twist, to purge, to let go, and relax. So even though certain postures may be feeling like, whoa, this is a big stretch, yeah, well, the body's designed for movement. Now walk your hands back up your legs, and let's take Dandasana again. And place your hands beside your hips, and just recall a few minutes ago when you sat in Dandasana, how much easier it may be now from one little stretch. Anybody else feeling like this is easier? So imagine if we were to practice maybe twice a week, I'm not suggesting we do or don't, because once a week does a lot. As long as you're exercising and doing other things the rest of the week, you're good. I'd say you're good to go, but it doesn't hurt, of course, to do a little bit of yoga. And we can do this and be mindful when we're being active, to think about the principles of yoga. One more time, inhale, sweep the arms up, lifting up out of your waist, reaching up, exhaling, forward fold. Again, hold at a spot and just check in with yourself. Your back, your hips, and reach again forward. Exhale, once again, releasing your hands to your feet, your ankles, your calves, your knees, whatever you can hang on to. And then inhale to lengthen, lift your heart. Exhale to fold forward, whatever amount you can safely do. And walk your hands back up your legs. And once more, taking Dandasana for a moment. So when it comes to the 8 limbs of yoga, the yamas, which are observances and restraints, so ahimsa, non-violence, non-harming, even a non-harming or non-violent approach in everyday life. When somebody says something to us that is a criticism or an unjustifiable remark, we don't have to have a knee-jerk response to it. We can just take a deep breath, exhale, practice forgiveness, tolerance, and I like the idea of that person hearing their words reverberate, not yours, because the only way that we really ever get it is when we hear it ourselves. So if we do this to another person and they retaliate, or even when we're being criticized for something, my yoga teacher used to say, look for the grain of truth in what they're saying. The ego hates it, but our egos have only one disciple, us. That's it. Okay. So shake out the backs of your legs. Let's place I'll do the mirror image. Place your left foot on the outside of your right knee and flex the foot of your straight leg. Interlock your fingers 2 inches below. Pull your torso towards your bent thigh. Now place your left hand behind you to prop yourself up. Inhale the right arm up, reaching up, stretching up. Exhale, twist and turn, bringing the elbow either outside of the knee or around the knee. Whichever one you do, place a little bit of pressure and then inhale to lengthen, so the pressure is pushing the knee towards the center. And on an exhale, twist, turn, whatever amount you can. So twisting poses, of course, purge waste, impurities and toxins out of the body. But when it comes to the diaphragm, the rib cage, the abdominals, this is an opportunity to stretch, release, mobilize, and increase the mobility of these working parts. When one part of the body is weak, other parts have to compensate and make up for it. So when we have a problem in our body, it could be a referred problem coming from somewhere else, making it difficult to figure out what is the real source of my pain or discomfort. Inhale, reaching up through the crown, lengthening your spine. Exhale, slowly release, Counter twist to the other side. And exhale, relax, come back to center. Notice how relaxing exhaling is. It's something we don't do completely, but I'm hoping that we will bring more mindfulness to that. Now bang out the backs of the knees again, sitting up nice and tall. Place the other foot outside, right outside of the knee, flat on the floor. Flex the foot of the straight leg, interlock your fingers 2 inches below, and then pull your torso right up against your thigh. Pressing your right hand on the floor behind you, the palm. Inhale, sweep the left arm up, reaching up, stretching up. Exhale, twist, bringing elbow either to the outside of the knee or around the knee. Inhale, lengthen your spine, reaching up through the crown. And then exhale. What a beautiful day it is today. How nice. We would never appreciate good weather if we didn't have the bad. Sometimes we, of course, take our health for granted until we don't have it. But keep faith that our thoughts and how we take care of our body with diet, rest, managing our stress, all of these things are healing and add to the whole. W-H-O-L-E, whole. One more inhale to lengthen your spine. Exhale and twist to the other side. All right, back to our diaphragm ab work. Come on back to the center. You'll need just one block. We're going to lie down. And, or maybe have a look here, because basically you're just going to have your block, and if you don't have a block at home, when you're practicing anything light, it's not about the weight at all. So, in this position, we're going to lift the legs off the floor, lift the block up, and bring it to your shins, actually both shins together, and then straighten the legs out and lower everything down. Now, if you really want to go for it, you can keep your head and legs off the floor the whole time, but I'm not going to do that. I find that a little bit too stressful, so your arms are on the floor, your legs are on the floor. Inhaling in place. Press the small of your back into the floor. Exhale, draw your knees up into tabletop and bring the block onto your shins. And exhale. Inhale to lift and exhale to crunch. And releasing. Inhale and exhale, bringing the block to your shins and releasing, block over behind your head, legs flat on the floor. 2 more times if you can. Bringing the block to your shins with your tabletop. And exhale, release. Inhale, in place, exhale, and release. And now place the soles of your feet flat on the floor with your knees bent and put your block between your legs. Put your block between your legs. Uddiyana Bandha, which we've done standing up, we're going to try and mimic this in the lying down position. So you're going to place your hands in the crease of your legs. You're holding the block between your knees, your feet are flat on the floor. And again, if you feel like your feet are too far away to get the small of your back into the floor, then move your heels closer to your sits bones. All right, inhaling in place. Now your hands, again, as I say, they're on the crease. Your thumbs are pointing towards your pelvis and your fingers are around your outer thighs. You're going to press into your thighs and you're going to exhale and pull your abs right in towards your lower spine. Really press, exhale everything out. Maintain the exhale as long as you can. When you need to breathe, breathe in and relax your arms. Let your elbows land on the floor, but keep your palms in the crease. Difficult to talk when you don't have any air in your belly, but I managed. Alrighty, let's try this one more time. Press the small of your back into the floor. Press your fingers into the crease of your thighs, so where your thigh meets your lower torso. Inhaling in place, exhale, all the air out, and pull your abs almost up and under the rib cage, and press on your thighs. And holding with the air out until you need to breathe. And releasing. Remove the block. Once again, you're going to roll over onto your side, or if it feels okay, placing your hands underneath the backs of your thighs, rocking up to a seated position, run over onto all fours, curl your toes under, roll back onto the soles of your feet, let your upper body hang over your bent thighs and slowly roll up, one vertebra at a time. Okay. Mark the fronts of your mats. You may wish to have a block. We're going to do just two standing postures, triangle and crescent moon. So balance is required for the crescent moon. So if you think you want to have a chair or move your mat close to something, you'll want to hold on something at the front of your mat. So the chair could be at the front of your mat. Inhaling in place. Exhale. Step your right leg back one leg length. Make sure the heel of your front foot creates a straight line through the arch of your back foot, and that your back foot is pointing slightly forward. Your front foot's 90 degrees. Your legs are not going to bend. Keep your legs straight. Inhale, sweep the arms up to shoulder height, and then reach forward, not down, reach forward, and then lower your front arm when you can't reach any further, inside your front leg, and the other arm straight above it. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Make sure your top shoulder is not collapsing towards the floor, but pushing back, opening and stretching your core, your diaphragm. Lower the top arm onto your thigh, bend your front leg, transfer your weight onto your front leg, and then if you need to, this is where the block comes in handy, or the chair for balance, or tent your fingers on the floor, lift your back leg up, straighten your front leg, focus your gaze for balance. Breathe. If you feel balanced, lift your top arm, and if you really feel balanced, you can lift your fingers off the floor. But that would be fairly advanced for most of us. Bend your front leg, step that top leg back. Let's come back into triangle pose. Reaching with your top arm, straighten your front leg. Inhale, come on all the way up. Pivot on your feet, turning in the opposite direction. One leg length, inhale, sweep the arms up to shoulder height. Lower your shoulders, lift up at your sternum. Now let your back hip go back as you reach your front arm forward. Not down, just forward. Then hinge. Organically let that front arm fall inside of your front leg. Reach the other arm straight up, maybe even looking up, and then gently turn your head to look down at your mat, lower your top arm, bend your front leg, scooch your back foot towards. You're going to transfer the weight onto your front leg, lifting your back leg to be parallel with the floor and your top arm up. And if you feel really balanced, you can lift your bottom hand also off the floor in crescent moon, or keep your hand on the floor or a chair. And then bend your front leg, step that back leg back. Come on back into your Trikonasana, triangle pose. Energy goes up, reaching up. Inhale, come on, all the way up. Stay sideways on your mat. Turn your feet out, and then hinge from your hips. Forward fold, fingertips tented right in front of your face. Inhale, sweep your left arm up, reaching up, stretching up, and looking up. Exhale, float it down. Inhale, sweep the other arm up, reaching up, stretching up, and looking up. Exhale, float it down. Walk your feet towards one another and bring your body flat out into Shavasana. Flat out and relaxing. Take a sip of water if you need to. Oh, by the way, I was going to say when we were standing up, I've got my eye cushions there and Kleenex, if on the bench in the blue box. If you want to put an eye cushion on your eyes, or you have a sweater or something to cover your eyes up because it's bright, but it's nice to have the weight, just put a tissue on your eyes first, and then put the iPad on your eyes. Sorry, guys. But if you can cover your eyes, it'll help you let go and relax. It occurred to me when I was preparing the class, sometimes the yamas and niyamas, so the first one, as I said, is ahimsa. There are 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. Restraints. The yamas are social, ethical restraints, how we relate to people. And the niyamas are self-observances, self-discipline, basically how we take care of ourselves. So each week I'll go through one of these. And these really are, the yamas and niyamas are truly the real essence, if you will, of yoga. They're the true starting place. They're really about avoiding behavior that produces suffering and difficulty, and enhancing behaviors and actions that lead to happiness. Ways that promote inner and outer peace. So sometimes the yamas and niyamas are compared to the 10 Commandments, and they're great, but I think that when it comes to ahimsa and nonviolence, the expression do unto others as you would have them do unto you, should be the signs that we see on the highways, or in the malls, or in the subways. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to remember that we're all on the same wheel of life. So with your eyes closed, let your eyeballs sink into their sockets. Separate the biting surfaces of the teeth. Relax the jaw. Palms should be facing up in the open and receiving position. Let your bodies be soft and heavy. Inviting them to absorb the benefits of your actions. And as you breathe, visualize this muscle that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. Notice the movement of the breathing. And remember that breath awareness is a way to self-manage, self-care through our busyness, through our stress. You can think of your breath as an internal friend. Always with us, always serving, especially if we remember to let it go. Inhaling long, full, and deep. And deep, exhaling. Long, full, deep, inhaling. And deep, exhaling. And then inhale, sweep the arms over behind your heads, reaching, stretching. Notice how this affects your breathing. And exhale, and bring your arms back by your sides. Inhale, sweep the arms straight up, reaching up towards the ceiling. Feet far, flex, point, and drop your arms down by your sides. When you're ready, slowly roll over onto your side. And only when you're ready, keeping your knees bent for a moment in a semi-fetal position. Take your time to press yourselves back up into a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga journey with me. Namaste and have a beautiful day. Any questions or comments are always welcome.
Thank you.